Now let me add a slicer wherein we'll have the order date column. So I'll add the order date column onto fields. So you can see here we have the order date column, and under slicer header, let me increase the text size to 15 and let's switch on the border. You can also give a title to the slicer. So under the format tab, go to title, switch it on, and we'll give a title text as slicer by order date. Scroll down, I'll center align it and increase the text size to 15. Now if you want, you can also change the date colors to blue. So under date inputs, you can go to font color and select any blue color. Now let's create a line and stacked column chart to visualize sales and profit by each year, each month and each quarter. So from the visualizations tab, let me select line and stacked column chart. I'll resize this. After that, let me add the order date column onto the shared axis. We'll drag the sales onto column values, and under line values, I'll take the profit column. So here you can see we have the sales and profit by each year. The bars represent the sales and this line represents the profit it made for each year. Let me go to the format tab and make some changes to the data colors. Let the color of the profit remain the same, but the bars, I'll choose a custom color, give a hexadecimal value like 196273, hit enter. So we have successfully changed the color of the bars. Power BI has an interesting feature where you can drill down the sales by each year, each month, each quarter or by days. So let me show you. So on the top, it shows you go to the next level in the hierarchy. So if I click on this, here you can see the sales and the profit that were made for each quarter in every year. Quarter 4 for every year made the highest amount of sales and the profit. Similarly, if I drill down further, you can see, let me expand it, you can see by month. This is for each month over all the years how much sales were made. You can check November month gave us the highest amount of sales and December month gave us the highest amount of profit. Similarly, you can still go to the next hierarchy. Here you can see the sales and the profit made for each day over all the years. So day 17 made the highest amount of sales and day 23 gave us the highest amount of profit. If you see the lowest sales and the profit, you can see order date 25 gave us the lowest amount of profit, and similarly you can see day 29 gave us the lowest amount of sales. Now you can also go to the format tab and switch on the data labels. So you can see here in 2014 we got nearly 49.5k profit and nearly $0.48 million sales. Similarly, in 2015 we had nearly 61.6k profit and 0.47 million sales, and so on. Now let me go ahead to the format tab and switch on the border. Let me now create a clustered column chart for sales by year and quarter. So from the visualizations, let's select clustered column chart. Let me resize this a bit. And under axis, we'll add the year column. So I'll drag year onto axis. Under legend, I'll take the quarter column. And under values, I'll choose sales. So you can see here the sales that were made under each quarter for each year. This picture clearly says quarter 4 for every year made the highest amount of sales. and quarter 1 made the lowest. Let me go to the Format tab and I'll go to the data colors. Let's change the colors for each of these quarters. We'll be using hexadecimal values. So under custom colors for quarter 1, let me select hexadecimal value as follows. So for example, PF D6 D9. Similarly for quarter 2, I'll select 6D9 DS6. For quarter 3, and finally for quarter 4, I'll choose a little darker color. So here is how our clustered column chart looks like, and we can see the sales by year and quarter. Now let me go ahead and let's add a border. Now we'll analyze the sales by each state. So for that, we'll use field map. So I'll click on field map. Let me resize it. Now let me add the state column onto location. Under tooltips, I'll add the sales column. Let me expand it. So you can see here we have the map which shows the sales by each state. Now let's do some color formatting to this. I'll go to the Format tab, click on Add Colors, and blue is the default color. There's an additional option where you can use conditional formatting. So I'll use that. So it gives you the option to choose your color between maximum value and the minimum value. You can also choose this diverging option where you get a center value or a mid value as well. Now for the minimum value, I'll choose a color. Again, I'll use a custom color. It will be similar to a green color. I'll hit OK. Then let's use some orange color for the mid value range. For example, EB. And similarly, for the maximum value, we'll use a little darker color which looks similar to red. Click enter. So now we have defined our color scheme. Let's click on OK. Let's zoom out. So you can see the states which are in green color made the lowest amount of sales, while those which are in orange or in red made the highest amount of sales. So in this example, you can see California had the highest amount of sales. Similarly, New York is next, is just below California with the amount of sales, followed by Texas. We'll go back. Let me also add a border to this. Similarly, you can also select the profit column or the units sold column to see the units or the profit that were sold by each state. So let me now go ahead and create a donut chart. In that donut chart, we'll analyze the sales and profit by each segment. So under visualizations, I'll click on donut chart. So under legend, I'll add the segment column. Under values, I'll take the sales column, and we also want the profit, so I'll take the profit column onto tooltips. So you can see we have our donut chart prepared, and you can see the sales and profit by each segment. Let me expand this. The donut chart indicates consumer segment made the highest amount of sales and profit, while home office segment made the lowest. I'll go back. Let me go to the Format tab, and we'll make some formatting to our data. Let's change the color of all the segments. Choose custom color. Let's give a color coding as 1558C. Similarly, we'll change the color for corporate segment as well. Let's take a gray color. And finally, we'll change the color for home office as well. I'll also switch on the border. So we have our donut chart prepared. Now let's move ahead and create a pie chart to analyze the profit and sales by each category of products. So under visualizations, I'll select pie chart. I'll drag the category column onto legend. Under values, I'll take the profit column, and under tooltips, I'll take the sales column. So you can see we have a simple pie chart that tells you the profit and the sales that were made by each category. As it's evident, category technology made the highest amount of sales and profit, while furniture category made the lowest amount of profit and sales. I'll go back. Under format, I'll change the data colors. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll use custom colors and give a hexadecimal color value. Similarly for office supplies, I'll take another hexadecimal value. And finally, we'll change the color of the furniture category. Also, let's give a border. So we have a pie chart prepared that tells you the profit and sales by each category of products. Now we are done with our first sales dashboard. So I can go ahead and rename this tab as overall sales. Next, we are going to analyze the sales, profit, quantity sold and all of these by taking region and the state as filters. So we'll continue with the same drill. First, I'll create a text box. So under home menu, I'll go to text box. I'll stretch this. I'll give a title to this page. For example, region and state level analysis. Let me make it bold and I'll increase the size to 28, make it center aligned. We'll make the text as white and under visualizations, let's give a background color. I'll choose this blue color. So let me go ahead and create 3 slicers, a region slicer, a state slicer and a year slicer. So under visualizations, I'll click on slicer. Let me resize, move it on top. And for region slicer, I need to add region onto fields. So you can see we have a region filter now. Let's do some formatting to this. Under slicer header, let me make the font color white and let's give a background, let's say blue, and let me increase the text size to say 15. You can also choose a font family. Let's go for Calibri and you can increase the size of the items. Let's increase the text size to say 15 and let's give a border. So now you have the region slicer ready. Let me copy paste this. Next, we'll create the state slicer. So I'll remove region from here and add state onto the field. So you can see we have the state slicer ready. Similarly, you can also go ahead and create a year slicer where you can analyze the sales and profit or quantity by year. I'll remove state from here and I'll drag the year column onto field. You can see we have all the 4 years from 2014 to 2017. Now sometimes it might be difficult for you to scroll through all the values present in a slicer. For example, in the state slicer, you can see there are multiple states. And if you want to filter your report by a particular state, you have to always scroll down or scroll up and check manually where the state is. So Power BI gives you this feature where you can use the search option. So if I click on this, you can see there's a search option. Select that. So now in the search bar, you can search for any state you are looking for. For example, if you want to search for California state, you can just type on California. So I have just typed CAL and it shows me California. That's an important feature that Power BI gives you. So let me now go ahead and create a simple table where we will see the quantity and the profit made in each city. So under visualizations, I'll select tables. Let me resize this. So under values, first I'll add the city column, followed by the quantity column and the profit column. Let's do some formatting. So under column headers, let me change the font color to white and let's add a background. Let me increase the text size also. Let's make it 15. Similarly, if you scroll down under values, let's increase the text size to 15 as well. And let's choose the font family. Let's take Consolas. So here you can see all the cities, the quantity sold in each city and the profit that was made in each of these cities. Now let me add a border to this. So now you can filter each of the cities by region or by state. For example, if I choose Central as my region, it will give you all the cities that lie in the central region. Similarly, you can also search for any state. For example, I am taking Minnesota. So under Minnesota, you can see all the cities and the quantity as well as the profit they made. Let me now uncheck the filters. Now let me go ahead and filter this table in terms of profit. So I'll sort by profit. You can see we have our cities sorted in terms of profit. So New York City made the highest amount of profit, followed by Los Angeles and Seattle. Below you can see the total units that were sold and the total profit that was made from all the cities. So you can also filter down the quantity sold and the profit made by each year as well as by region and state. So let's see. Suppose I am choosing East as the region. So under East, it tells you the states that are present. Let's go for Delaware and let's select 2016 as my year. So you can see the cities that lie under Delaware state and the quantity as well as the profit they made in 2016. Similarly, let's select Massachusetts as the state and let's go for another year, for example 2017. You can see all the cities that are present under Massachusetts, the quantity sold and the profit that was made. Below you can see the total quantity and the profit. Let me uncheck all these. Now moving ahead, let's analyze the sales by each state and the category of product. For this, we'll create a clustered bar chart. So under visualizations, I'll select clustered bar chart. Let me resize a bit. Under axis, I'll take the state column. I'll take category onto legend, and under values, I'll put the sales column. So you can see here, we have the sales for each category under each state. For example, California state made the highest amount of sales under technology category and it made the lowest amount of sales under office supplies. If I scroll down, you can see all the states and the sales they made for each category. I'll go back to the report. Now let's use some filters. You can filter here. For example, if I want to check the sales by each state and category for 2015, I can just click on 2015 and it will tell you the sales that were made. Now let's do some formatting to this bar chart. We'll change the colors for each of the categories. Similarly, we'll change the color for office supplies. And finally, for the technology. So now we have our bar chart ready. Moving on, now let me add a border to this bar chart. Okay. So now that we have seen our sales by state and category, let's now check the profit by year and category. For that, we'll create an area chart. I'll resize this chart. Now, under axis, I'll take the year column. Under legend, I'll take the category column. And under values, I'll take profit. So we have our area chart that depicts the profit by each year and the category to which the product belongs to. I'll go to the Format tab and under Data Colors, I'll choose some colors. Let's change furniture to this blue color. I'll take office supplies a red color and technology I'll use a green color. So now you can use the filters. For example, you can check the profit that was made by each year and category under East region. So you can see here, in 2017, technology made the highest amount of profit while furniture had the lowest. Similarly, let's check for South region. So you can see in South region in 2016, technology made the highest amount of profit and furniture made the lowest. In 2017, office supplies made the highest amount of profit and furniture was the lowest. I'll uncheck this South region filter. Similarly, you can also see the sales by each state. So under state slicer, you can choose whichever state you want and check the profit it made by that year or category. For example, I'll choose Connecticut. So you can see the profit Connecticut state made in each of these years. I'll uncheck it. Let us move ahead and now let's see profit that was made and the quantity that was sold by each category and subcategory of the product. So for this, I'll choose the line and clustered column chart. So I'll select from the visualizations. Now under shared axis, I'll select the category column. Under column series, I'll take the subcategory column. Under column values, I'll choose profit and I'll choose quantity under the tooltips. So now you can see the profit that was made under each category and the subcategory. For technology category, copiers subcategory made the highest amount of profit. The quantity sold was 234. Similarly, if you check for furniture category, we didn't make any profit for tables subcategory and as well as for bookcases. Under office supplies, paper subcategory made the highest amount of profit. Now let me go ahead and add a border to this. Fine. Moving ahead, now we will see the sales by each segment. For that, let's create a funnel. So from visualizations, I'll take the funnel and I'll drag segment onto group and the sales column onto values. So you can see here the sales that were made by each segment. This picture clearly depicts that consumer segment made the highest amount of sales. Next was corporate and then home office. Now let's do some color formatting. So the default color is this blue. I'll click on show all. Now we'll give individual colors to each of the segments. Using custom color, let's give a hexadecimal value. Similarly, we'll change the color for the corporate segment. And finally, for the home office segment. Now let me go ahead and give a border to it. So if you want to analyze the sales by segment and for a particular region or state or any particular year, you can do that. So let's select for East region and let's take New Jersey as the state for year 2014 suppose. So you can see here corporate segment made the highest amount of sales, followed by consumer and home office. Let me uncheck these filters. So our second report is ready, where we analyzed the sales, quantity, profit at region level, state level and by year. So I can rename this as region and state. Next, we will analyze the sales, quantity, profit in terms of categories and subcategory of products. So let me first copy this text box and create a new tab. I'll paste that text box here and change the title to say category and subcategory level analysis. First, we'll create a slicer where we'll take the category as filter. So if I want, I can directly copy it from my previous tab and change the fields. So let me copy this and paste it here. I'll sync it and let me remove the region field and add category onto the field. So you can see we have the three categories here. Let me copy paste this again and let me take the subcategory now. So I'll select this and I'll drag subcategory onto the field. So here you can see we have all the subcategories and above we have the categories. Let me resize this a bit. With that, now let's analyze the sales and profit by region and segment. To do this, we'll use a tree map. So let's see how you can build a tree map. Under visualizations, I have tree map. Let me select it. I'll move it to the top and expand it a bit. Now, under group, I'll select a region column. Under details, I'll take segment. I'll take the sales column under values and let's take profit onto tooltips. So if I expand this, you can see the sales and profit by each region and segment. For example, in the West region, you have consumer, corporate and home office as the segments, and you can see consumer segment made the highest amount of sales and profit, while home office made the lowest amount of sales and profit. Similarly, you can check for the other regions as well. Now, let's give a border to this tree map, and under data colors, let me change the color of the regions. Scroll down, custom color. Let me choose my own color. Let's take this as a gray color. And finally, for the West region. So now you can select individual categories and subcategories to check the sales and profit by region and segment. For example, if I select furniture as my category, you can see the changes that were made to the tree map. You can also select office supplies and see how the sales and profit changes. Similarly, you can also go ahead and select whatever subcategories you want and then check the sales and profit by region and segment. With that, let me now create a pie chart to see the quantity and the sales by each segment. So I'll go and select a pie chart. Let me resize this. If you want, you can increase the size of this tree map also. So let me go ahead and select segment onto the legend. Under values, I'll take quantity and sales under tooltips. So this pie chart depicts the quantity and the sales that were made by each segment. As you can see, consumer segment made the highest amount of sales and had the highest quantity sold, while home office had the least number of quantity sold and the least number of sales. Let's add a border and change the data colors. Similarly, I'll change the color for the corporate segment. Let's make this gray, and home office, I'll take the following color. Move this a little to the right. Now, let's build a scatter plot to analyze the sales, quantity and profit by each subcategory. So under visualizations, I'll select scatter plot. I'll resize this. So I'll add subcategory onto legend. Then I'll add sales onto the x-axis, quantity sold onto the y-axis, and under size, we'll take the profit column. If I expand this, you can see the sales, quantity and the profit that was made for each subcategory of products. You can see here, subcategory phone has given us a significant amount of sales with less number of quantities sold, and it has given us a good amount of profit also. Similarly, subcategory chairs has also given us good amount of sales with close to 2356 quantities sold and a good amount of profit. If you see this one, which is subcategory paper, it gave us less amount of sales with more quantities sold, while it gave us good amount of profit though. So you may promote phones or for example chairs to sell more, since it gives you more amount of profit with less quantity sold. Let's add a border to this. You can use the category filter. Suppose if I choose for furniture and expand this, you can see under furniture, subcategory furnishings gave us the lowest amount of sales with the highest number of quantities sold, but it gave us a decent amount of profit. Subcategory tables gave us a decent amount of sales with lesser number of quantities sold, but didn't give us any profit. Subcategory chairs gave us the highest amount of sales and also the profit. I'll uncheck this. Let's now create a line chart where we can see the profit by each year and quarter. So under visualizations, I'll select line chart. Let me resize this. So under axis, I'll take year. Under legend, I'll take the quarter column, and under values, I'll take the profit column. So now you can see the profit that was made each year and the lines depict each quarter. So if you check for 2014, quarter 4 made the highest amount of profit, while quarter 2 made the lowest amount of profit. while quarter 1 made the lowest amount of profit. Similarly, if you see for 2016, you can see quarter 4 made the highest amount of profit, while quarter 1 made the lowest. If you check for 2017, you see quarter 3 and quarter 4 almost made the same amount of profit, while quarter 2 made the lowest amount of profit. I go back. Now you can filter these by categories also. Suppose if I see for technology, you can check the amount of profit that was made in each year and in each quarter for technology category. Let's add a border to this. Likewise, we'll now create another line chart that will depict the sales by each year and quarter. So let me copy paste this. I'll drag this to the right. Now I'll remove profit from values and add sales. Let me uncheck this also. So here you can see we have the sales by each year and quarter. Now if you see for 2014, again quarter 4 made the highest amount of sales and quarter 1 in 2014 made the lowest. If you see for 2016, you can see 2016 also quarter 4 made the highest amount of sales and quarter 1 made the lowest. We'll go back. So our final report is ready, where we analyzed the sales, quantity sold, the profit at category and subcategory level. I can go ahead and rename this as category and subcategory. Let me save this. Now if you want, you can also filter it by subcategories. For example, if I select chairs as my subcategory, so for chairs you can see the sales that was made by each year and quarter. So in 2017, quarter 4 made the highest amount of sales, while quarter 1 made the lowest amount of sales for chairs. Similarly, you can select other subcategories also. For example, let me take some other category like machines. Let's see the profit now. So for machines subcategory, you can see in 2014, quarter 4 made the highest amount of profit, while quarter 3 made the lowest amount of profit. Now if you check for 2015, you can see quarter 3 made the highest amount of profit in chairs, while quarter 1 made the lowest amount of profit. Let's uncheck this. So now we are almost done building our report using the Superstore sample dataset. So we have our 3 reports ready. You can see the first one was overall sales. The second report we created by taking region, state and the year as filters. So we had a region and state level analysis. And finally, we analyzed the sales, quantity and the profit sold by category and subcategory. So I have arranged all these graphs and charts so that it looks little better. Now let me go to this publish option on the top so that we can publish this report onto the Power BI dashboard. So I'll click on publish. I'll save it. You can select the destination. Here I have only one destination, which is my workspace. So I'll choose it and select. So there you go. Publishing to Power BI, it was successful. I'll close it and let me move to my Power BI service. I'll refresh it for once. So under my workspace, you can see we have the dashboard report. So below you can see there are 3 tabs that we created. The first one is overall sales. The second one is sales by region. The third one is by category and subcategory. Now, to put these reports onto the dashboard, I need to pin each one of these visualizations. So let me pin one by one. So it asks where would you want to pin it to. I'll select the existing dashboard. Or better, let's create a new dashboard. Let's say Power BI dashboard, spin it. I'll close this. Similarly, Let's pin the remaining ones. I'll select Power BI dashboard again, pin it. Let's pin everything. So this slicer, you can't pin it. Let's do the remaining ones. Same will do for the donut chart as well as for the pie chart. Now if I go to my dashboards and select Power BI dashboard, you can see we have a one-page dashboard here. You can resize all the charts and graphs. Let me resize it and move it to the top. So we have our first canvas here, which tells you the overall sales, the profit, and the units that were sold over different states, different segments, and by categories. So one of the important features that Power BI service gives you is that you can ask questions about your data and it will tell you what the exact solution is. For example, you can see here you have a field where you can ask questions. So for example, if I type total sales and hit enter, so it tells you the total amount of sales that were made, which is $2.3 million. Similarly, if I want to find out the total profit, I can search for it here, hit enter. It will give you the exact amount of profit that was made. Let's do something else. For example, if you want total profit by say year, I'll hit enter. It gives you a nice line chart where you can see the total profit that was made over all the 4 years. Next, suppose I search for total quantity sold by segment. See, it gives me a bar chart where you can see the total quantity that was sold, and it gives you a list of options where you can find out the total quantity that was sold by city, state, order ID, first name, last name, and many others. So consumer segment had the highest quantity sold. Let's see for something else. For example, if you want the total sales by say subcategory, I'll choose the first one. See, you have all the subcategories and the total sales that they made. So it's a very interesting feature that Power BI gives you. Go back. Now, if you want, you can go to the report menu, and if you want, you can pin the other visualizations as well. So another important feature about Power BI dashboard is that you can derive insights from the visualization. For example, if I click on these dots, there's an option you find, View Insights. I'll select it. So on the right, you can see Power BI has itself given us some insights from the data and the visualizations we have made. You can see sales by year and quarter, the sales by day of week and quarter, sales by shipment mode, where you can see the standard class ship mode made the highest amount of sales. You can also see the sales and count of city by year, and many more.
In this video, we'll be creating two dashboards using a sample sales dataset. So if you want to get the data and the dashboard file that we'll be creating in this demo, then please put your email IDs in the comment section of the video. Our team will share the files via email. Now, let's begin by understanding what is a dashboard in Excel. A dashboard is a visual interface that provides an overview of key measures relevant to a particular objective with the help of charts and graphs. Dashboard reports allow managers to get a high-level overview of the business and help them make quick decisions. There are different types of dashboards such as strategic dashboards, analytical dashboards, and operational dashboards. An advantage of dashboards is the quick detection of outliers and correlations. With comprehensive data visualization, it is time saving as compared to running multiple reports. With this understanding, let's jump into our demo. For creating our dashboards, we'll be using a sample sales dataset. Let me show you the dataset first. So here is the sales dataset that we'll be using for our demo. So this dataset was actually generated using a simulator and is completely random. It was not validated, though we have applied certain transformations to the data using Power Query features. So this data, as you can see, has 1000 rows. So using the simulator, we had generated 1000 rows of data. Similarly, if I go on top, you can see this dataset has 17 columns. Now let me give you a brief about each of the columns. So first we have the region column. So we have Middle East and North Africa, there's North America, Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa and others. Similarly, we have the country names from which the item was ordered. The third column is the item type. So we have different items: cosmetics, vegetables, there's baby food, cereal, fruits, etc. Then we have the representative's name, or you can say this as the customer name who ordered the product. Then we have a sales channel column. So there are basically two channels, whether the item was sold offline or online. Next we have the order priority column. Now here C stands for critical. Then we have H, which is for high priority orders. Then we have M for medium priority orders, and finally we have L, which is for low priority orders. You can see the order date column. Then we have the order ID, the ship date. Next we have units sold, which is basically the total number of units sold for each item. Then we have the unit price column. This is the price at which each product was sold. Then we have the unit cost column, which is basically the production cost for each of the items. Next we have the total revenue. The total revenue is actually the product of units sold and unit price. Then we have the total cost column. Now the total cost column is actually the product of units sold and the unit cost. Similarly, we have the total profit column. So total profit is the difference between total revenue and the total cost. And finally, we have created two more columns, that is order year and then we have order month. Now these two columns were actually generated using the Power Query features. So we used the order date column, which is this column, and extracted order year and order month. So first, we are going to create a revenue dashboard where we'll focus on generating reports for revenue by order year, revenue by year and region, revenue by order priority, and much more. We'll create separate pivot tables and pivot charts and format them to make them look more interesting and presentable. We'll add slices and timeline to our dashboards in order to filter it based on specific fields. Now let's create our first report to see the total revenue generated each year. So we need to create a pivot table for this. I'll click on a cell in my dataset and then I'll go to the Insert tab. Here we have the option to select the pivot table. I click on this. You can see my table range is selected. Next, I want to place my pivot table in a new worksheet, and let's just click on OK. There you go. So we have a new sheet where I can place my pivot table. So first, I need to find the total revenue generated by each year. So what I'll do is, I'll drag my order year column under rows, and then I'll select the total revenue column under values. You can see I have my pivot chart ready. Now if you want, you can sort this. So from the data, you can see we have order year from 2010 to 2017. Now based on this data, let's create our pivot chart. So I'll click on any cell, go to Insert, and here you have the option to select recommended charts. I click on this. Now actually I want a line chart, so I'll click on line here and select OK. There you go. So we have successfully created our first pivot chart. Now let me show you how you can format this chart to make it more readable. So first, let me delete these. So I'll right click and select hide all field buttons on the chart. So this will delete the buttons present on the chart. Now let me go ahead and edit the chart title. So the title I want is total revenue. I'll type it down by year. Alright. Next, let's do a few more transformations. So if I click on this plus sign, which is actually for chart elements, we have some options like to add axis, axis titles, chart title, data labels, this grid lines, legend and others. Okay, so let's remove the legend now. You can see the total legend is gone. Now let me add axis titles. So we'll label our x-axis and y-axis. So here under x-axis I can write it as year. Similarly on the y-axis I'll put revenue. Okay, now you can move a bit. Alright, now let me select this chart style option and go to colors first. Here I'll select yellow color. Okay, and then let me go back to style. Let's select a new style from this list. I want this style. Okay, now you can also add data labels. So I'll just click on data labels. You can see we have the revenue for each of the years. Now this is not readable at all, so we'll format this a bit. If I click on this arrow, here I have more options. If I scroll down, you can see we have something called as number here. I'll expand this and under category I'll select custom. Now here we'll give a format code which is a bit different. So this is actually a kind of a formula. So I'll write if my revenue value is greater than, let's say, 9,99,000. Let me make sure there are 6 nines here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, we are good to go. I'll close the bracket. I'll give a hash, give 2 commas. So if the revenue is greater than 9,99,000, I'll put it in the format of millions. So within double quotes I'll write M. I'll give a semicolon followed by another hash, and if the value is less than the desired number, it should be 0 million. Let me click on add. Alright, you can see how nicely we have formatted our data, and you see here we have added the new format which is in millions. Alright, now if you want you can go ahead and adjust the boxes. Let me move this a bit up. I'll delete this. Now if you notice this line chart, you can make a few conclusions. For example, if you see here in 2010, the total revenue generated was nearly 175 million. Now this came down to 150 million in 2011. Then the revenue constantly grew from 2011 till 2014. It reached 195 million. And after 2014, it again came down to 180 million, and the revenue dropped significantly between 2016 and 2017. In 2017, the revenue was just 96 million. Now before moving ahead to my next chart, let me just rename this sheet. So I'll write it as revenue by year. Alright. Now let's analyze the revenue generated each year in different regions. So for this we'll create another pivot table. Let me close this. I'll click on any cell, go to insert and select pivot table. I'll just click OK so that my pivot table is placed on a new sheet. Alright. Now this time we want the revenue by each year and region. So first of all, let's drag region to columns. Then let's drag the order year column under rows, and then I'll select total revenue onto values. So here you can see we have the pivot table ready. So for 2010, you can see in Asia, this was the revenue generated. Similarly, if you see for 2013, this was the total revenue generated in Europe, and we have for other years as well. Now let's create a line chart based on this pivot table. So I'll select any cell in the pivot table, I'll go to insert, and I'll click on recommended charts. From this list, I'll select my line chart and click on OK. There you go. So we have our next pivot chart ready. So on the right, you see the different regions that are present in different colors. Let me just expand it so that you can see all the regions we have. So in total, we have 7 regions, and each of the regions have been represented in different colors. So if you notice this graph, for the sub-Saharan African region in 2012, sub-Saharan Africa made the highest amount of sales. Now from the sample data you can also tell that the revenue for North America has been significantly low compared to other regions. Similarly, if you see for Europe, this was the revenue trend between 2010 and 2017. So if you see here in 2011, the sales were at this level, then it significantly dropped in 2012, then in 2013 there was a huge spike, and then again came down in 2015, and so on. So you can make your own conclusions by looking at these line charts. Now let's format this chart. So first of all, let's delete the field buttons present on the chart, and we'll also delete the legend. Alright, now let me just reduce the size of the chart. Next, we'll add a chart title. So we'll give the title as revenue by year and region. Okay. You can also format the y-axis in terms of millions. So I'll right click on this axis and I'll select format axis. I'll scroll down, and here we have the number drop down. Let me scroll again. Under category, I'll select custom, and we'll use this format that we created for our previous chart. There you go. You can see our axis labels have been changed in terms of millions now. So let's close this and let me save it. Now you can reduce the font size or increase the font size. Let me just show you. Suppose you want to increase the font size of the chart title, so you just select it, and from here you can either reduce or you can increase. You can see now it's 12. If you want, you can make it 16. Similarly, you can also edit the axis labels also. By selecting the chart title, you can also move it to left or right, or you can place it in the center as well. For the time being, let me just keep it to the left. Alright. Now we'll see the revenue and total cost by each region, and we'll create a combo chart for this. So let me show you how to do it. I'll go to my data sheet. I have my cell selected. I'll go to insert and click on pivot table. Let me just click on OK. Alright. So for this, I'll select my region onto rows, and then I'll have 2 columns under values. The first one is going to be total revenue, and the next column will be the total cost column. Alright. So here we have the pivot table ready. Now based on this pivot table, let's create our pivot chart. So I'll go to recommended charts, and if you